with all of the possible financial metrics, you could be tracking things like EBITDA and revenue and COGS and all those different pieces. I'm here to tell you that paying attention to gross margin is the most important thing you can be doing to make sure that you're profitable. All those other metrics are important, but the most important one for me really is gross margin. Because if you deliver a good gross margin, the rest of your business is likely to be profitable. But before I get too deep into this conversation, let's talk about what gross margin is, because I think it's important that we're all on the same page. To get gross margin, you have to do a few things. The first thing you do is you take your revenue, you subtract out your COGS, right? Then that gets you gross profit dollars. Gross profit's important because that tells you what the literal gross profit dollars you have are. In order to get margin out of this, you take that gross profit dollars, you divide that back by the revenue, which gives you a ratio of profit to revenue. You multiply that by 100, and that gets you your percentage, right? That's the idea. And you want to track gross margin by lines of business as well. So you can do this in aggregate, where you take all of your revenue to subtract all your COGS out, you get your gross profit dollars and divide that back by revenue again. But you can do that based on line of business too, right? So you could take all of your service revenue, subtract out all of your service COGS, and that gets you your service gross profit. And you need to take that service gross profit number again and divide that back by your services revenue, and that gets you services gross margin. Let's talk about gross margin overall today, and we'll get into the other nuances of gross margin in future rambles. But the idea here is that if you deliver solid gross margin to the rest of the business should be profitable, right? If you deliver good gross margin, it should equal good EBITDA or good net profit, right? That's the idea. And if you deliver good gross margin and your EBITDA or your net profit is bad, that means something's happening below the line that needs to be investigated. Now, that might be deliberate, right? You might spend money on things on purpose and knowing that your EBITDA or net profit is going to be lower. But if you don't know why your EBITDA or net profit is lower, then you need to investigate, right? So let's put this into perspective with like a service manager, right? So if your service manager is responsible for delivering good gross margin, and they do deliver good gross margin, but your EBITDA is not doing so hot, that's not your service manager's problem to solve. That is the owner's or the senior leadership's problem to solve, right? That's where the kind of that line of demarcation is. So if you show me a company with good gross margins, you should also see this very same company doing very well on your EBITDA or net profit. If that margin is not going so hot, it's pretty tough to be good on EBITDA, right? If the margin is doing really well, it's a whole lot easier to have good EBITDA. So you have to pay attention to the different levels of financial awareness within your organization. But the key here is consistency, right? It's fairly easy, actually, to get a single quarter of good gross margin. If you align the stars appropriately, you can churn out a good single quarter of gross margin, but it's a whole lot harder to do that over time. And that's what you need to do. You have to do this over time, right? You can right size the ship and you can do a bunch of stuff to make sure gross margin is good, but how do you keep it good over time, right? That's the important piece. Now, delivering good gross margin is important and is a big topic. This is not a thing that we're going to solve in a 4 or 5 minute YouTube video. So look for more videos talking about this moving forward. The short version of all of this is that if your gross margin isn't good enough and you need to improve your gross margin, you either need to increase revenue or you need to decrease COGS, or both, right? It's really kind of that simple. If you do both at the same time, you're going to see a representatively larger jump in gross margin than a simple change in one of them. So that's gross margin in a nutshell. We're going to talk a lot more about it as we go through some of these other financial conversations because it's very important. Before I wrap up this video, I do want to take a moment to say, if you do like the video, if you are getting some value out of it, please click the like and subscribe button. It really helps me show up on YouTube a little bit better. My whole goal here is to just share good knowledge about how to make a better business, and having you hit like and subscribe helps me. So if you would, I would appreciate that. With all of that, thank you for coming on this ramble with me, and I hope to see you on the next one.